Hello, everyone. Hello, Helga, again. I'm just going to share my screen now. And you should all hopefully see this. Yes, great. So my name is Bettina North, and I'm here with Madeleine Diab, who will talk a little bit later on. And the two of us were pretty much the project department at the Akademie für berufliche Bildung, which is the AFB in Dresden. And we are working on several projects in the education sector and the vet education sector. And we are going to talk about one particular program that actually Helga knows because he was working for the partner in the project. And we also had a bit of a think about equity in education because sort of for us, equity in education is primarily a systemic issue. So we really kind of see it primarily as something that happens sort of on a level that we have very little influence on. But considering it a bit more and thinking about it and past teaching experiences as well, we realized that actually teachers are very important in also creating an equitable learning environment. And so the teachers' views towards their students and teachers' behaviors, teachers' professional attire, everything can have a very significant impact on creating that, that equity in the classroom. Because all people have certain prejudices and personal biases, and they need to be challenged, and it can be really hard, and teachers need to learn that. And often teachers do learn that in initial teacher education, but vet teachers, so teachers in the vocational education sector, don't necessarily have the same kind of development or education. So there need to be more, opportunities for also vet teachers to develop these skills and to question and to also constantly really reflect on how am I treating my students. It's not about really treating them equally, but that equitable treatment, the equity it can be really big challenge because it sometimes means giving some students a bit more understanding than others to actually create equity rather than, treating all students the same. And so they need to question their own potential bias. They also need to be able to reflect on their students' potential bias. So this is all a process, and we think that games can be a really important tool in that process, in creating that awareness. And I've just picked one example, which is actually from a sort of former life of mine, teaching in teacher education. And this is a game called Social Justice Monopoly, which was an outcome of a group exercise in a teacher education course. And the task for the students there, so there were future teachers, and the task was to create an adaptation of any existing well-known game with a focus on a social injustice that is relevant in education. So they could pick any game and any social injustice, and they had to develop these games. And that was a great seminar, and they came up with really great examples. I picked the Social Justice Monopoly because it's sort of very straightforward and easy to understand how that equity comes into this. And so it's basically the same rules and some adjustments. For example, the players will start off with different amounts of money at the beginning. There's different rules for different players. One group of players will have to pick the red cards and will get different types of punishments. And so it's, the students had to create this game and they played it, and it helped them to understand some of the educational injustices themselves. And it's also provided them with a teaching resource that they can use in their own teaching practice in the future. So games can offer this kind of capacity, and a lot of other games can as well, or game elements. And we were working on this project called GateVet that was trying to really provide teachers with these impulses. So provide them with impulses for practical examples, but also, not just give them practical examples that they can reuse, but also make them really understand the backgrounds, the the system or the structures behind it. So the project was called GateVet, and it was an Erasmus plus KA2 strategic partnership, which is technically it's not a research project as such. It's a very practical project, and the focus really is on the production of tangible outputs. And we completed the project last year in October. And really the main focus of our tangible outputs were the platform, creating a platform for vet teachers with an accompanying training curriculum, and also a handbook came, was an output later added, and Madeleine will tell you all about that. And the project had 6 partners. The Akademie für berufliche Bildung is so we were coordinating the project, and we had 2 universities, the FHD from Dresden in Germany as well, and Coventry University as a conceptual partners for sort of the conceptual ideas and development of the projects. Then we had a technical partner, Mansavision from France, who were developing the app and the wiki. And we had 3 vet schools, so including us, and then a Danish, and a Romanian vet school who were pretty much trialing the outputs and help develop the project results. So they gave us a lot of input. And how that all happened and what we did and how we came up with our project outputs is something Madeleine will tell you more about.
Yeah. What was the reason or need behind GateVet? Why did we come up with the project? It's that just like in most sectors, the field of vocational education and training is affected by technological progress, of course, which results in a lot of new occupational profiles, or at least new areas of competence. And this again presents an ongoing challenge for all the involved actors in constantly developing and reforming the vocational training programs. And also, of course, there is a need to acquire those competences with the help of a new learning culture. We think one way this can be promoted is by teaching with digital media, and also especially by using concepts like game-based learning and gamification. And those are ideal because they especially support the student-centered approach, or can support that, and can contribute to equity in education, as Bettina pointed out earlier. The goals that we associated with the project were that we wanted to increase general awareness of teachers, of especially vet teachers, regarding game-based learning. We wanted to develop their competence of those teachers in the field of digital education, and also create some peer exchange at European level. Yeah. So as Bettina mentioned, there were the 3 outputs. The project was really focused on the outputs, and first output was a platform. The second was a substantial content collection to fill the platform, and the third one was a curriculum for multipliers. So we started out by establishing the needs of the target group in the beginning of the project, and to refine the platform requirements. We did this via workshops and interviews with teachers from the partnering schools. We conducted a total of 18 interviews, 9 with teachers with substantial experience in game-based learning, and 9 with teachers without experience in game-based learning. And the main requirement that we identified was that the platform should be easy to use, because all teachers said that they don't really have a lot of time. They don't want to search around a lot for content. And so that was like the main requirement. But beyond that, the teachers associated very different goals and functions with a platform for game-based learning. And so our biggest insight basically from those interviews was that the functionalities, the desired functionalities, are broadly diversified. So when we started to design the platform, we tried to accommodate the different needs, or at least most of them, and finally decided that we needed 2 platforms to accommodate all the needs. So we developed a wiki and an app. Both of those platforms are interconnected, and they use the same descriptive filters and categories, and they both have a distinction between theoretical and practical content. So, and while those platforms were mainly designed for VET teachers, of course, teachers of all educational levels can use them or can be useful to them. Then, yeah, we also, of course, included lots of stakeholders, external and internal stakeholders, at various stages in the development process to find out whether what we developed is helpful and useful for them. So we collected feedback from them during several multiplier events. They tested the wiki and the app. They created content for both platforms during the training of trainers, our workshop, and gave us feedback on how they liked the platforms and what they think could be improved. The second intellectual output was then the content collection. Of course, the 2 outputs were developed in parallel. We started out by collecting some best practice examples, tutorials, didactic design patterns, tools, definitions. Looked mainly for free games and free examples. And then the most challenging part of that was later to organize the content and to define a structure, define the filters, categories, grouping, and hierarchy on how do we want to present the content on the platform, so that it can be easily found as requested by the teachers. But also our main intention was that they actually can also find some inspiration there and can keep looking further once they found maybe what they're looking for, that they would also look for other examples and not just, let's say, type in what they are looking for, a specific subject, and then if they cannot find it, leave the platform immediately. So that was very, very challenging. And now Bettina is going to show you a little bit more the wiki and app.
From the wiki, which is actually the one I showed you earlier, was also a screenshot from the wiki, and it's pretty much a fairly straightforward wiki, like everyone knows Wikipedia. We've got certain filters and categories that as Madeleine mentioned, were difficult to establish, but once we got them, they define the main structure of the wiki, and we have the really that really big distinction between practical and theoretical content, which always interlinks. So if you have something, for example, like the social justice monopoly, you will find certain key terms that we have explained in the glossary. Of course, you can click on and you can find more information on that. And there are search functions, actually 2 different types of searches. You can search with filters, so you can search through those keywords, and you can also search the full text. And the significant difference between the wiki and the app is that in the wiki, the users can create their own content. So they can comment on other people's entries, they can adjust other people's entries, they can create their own entries, pretty much, like Wikipedia works. The reason that we really wanted also the app was primarily that the wiki is a fairly, in some ways limited. So given we have the game-based learning focus, we also wanted to have something gamified, and the app offers that. So the app is a gamified app, and it has badges, flashcards, mini games, and a leaderboard. And it still follows the same main structure, the theory and the practice. You can look at this pretty much similar contents. You have just shorter articles that describe some of the definitions or some of the practical examples. And then you can play and test your knowledge on some of the contents. And here, yes, unfortunately, it wasn't possible to have have users create their own content. But they work really well together. So the app links into the wiki, and it's available for free on iOS and for Android phones. And yeah, I think Madeleine was going to tell you about the curriculum and the handbook, which are the sort of last main outputs of our project.
Yeah, finally, the third IO was a curriculum to train multipliers. So to train vet teachers, for them to be able to train their peers, and maybe not in like a regular 2-day workshop, but even just in a, let's say, 15-minute explanation, so that they will be multipliers on game-based learning in their vet schools and be able to explain to their peers the ideas behind it, or give them good examples that they can use. And this was piloted towards the end of the project, and parts of the curriculum were also integrated into the app. And finally, since we could not travel a lot in the project due to Corona, we were also able to use some money, or we had some money left basically, and we used it to print a handbook for teachers, which we published in 4 different languages. And it is basically the unofficial conference proceedings from our final conference, and has some insights from researchers on the topic, but also some practical examples in it. And if you're interested in it, we can send you one, or you can also download the digital version, or check out any project results on our website. And yeah, now we're happy to answer your questions or discuss with you.
Thank you. Thank you, Bettina and Madeleine. And also from my side, I would like encourage all of you, the audience, to look to that handbook, because it is a really good collection of different ideas for game-based learning. And so please download or check it, or contact Madeleine and Bettina. So are there any questions in the audience? I cannot see everything here. You can raise your hand, or you can write a message. Okay. It's obviously not the case. Maybe I start with a question. As this, I'm really happy to have this presentation, your presentation, because it's a good bridge or good connection to the presentation of Sylvester Arnab, because of our key presenter, because was also a question of how to train educators. My question is, do you see any or obstacles of using games beside being qualified? Is there something, or do we need to train educators to be more, let's say, game-like, or is there anything else, or is this also a question of mindset? So because I would like to find out, what can we do to have more games in schools, or in vet schools, or in higher education, or wherever?
All right. Well, I think, again, it sort of comes back a bit to the systemic nature and the systemic challenges. I think, especially in Germany, there are quite tight regulations around contents. I mean, especially in the vet sector. I guess if we focus on the vet sector, that's our kind of, that's where our expertise is. They have quite full and quite detailed curricula that are already sort of at times quite inflexible, and it's difficult for some teachers to then, first of all, have the time to potentially get to know games, and also then perhaps adjust some of their teaching materials, and also then, to make sure that they still cover the original regulated curricula. And I think that's a big challenge, where we are, of course, at a wall, because that's not where we can really create a lot of change. But that's why we have tried to make it on a smaller level, and to sort of provide these smaller impulses, and hopefully give some impulses and some ideas. But I just saw as well that someone wanted to ask a question, I think. I can't really see on the screen, but I saw in the chat.
Yeah, there's more question. Sorry, there's one more question. And Frau Mechtel, you are spotlighted now. You could ask a question. I'll write you an email message in the chat box, but I told you. You have to unmute and ask your question.
Yeah, just one question.
You are muted.
No, not by my side, no.
Oh, moment.
We can hear you.
Now you are unmuted.
Ladies, you did a very good job, and I know how hard it is to do good jobs. It's a lot of work, and the most important aim of all these workers that we are, how much was it used? Is it a theoretical work? We do so much, we have so much, or did it really enter in practice? That's the question. And what can we do? How can we encourage each other to enter in practice? Because by your institutions, there are so many people who want to confess teachers, to teach teachers. They would have to have 100 of life to learn all this. How can we manage it to live it?
First of all, thank you for your praise. That's a really good question, and that's actually something that we also really have an issue with. We unfortunately, once the project ends, we unfortunately don't really have the time to check on how much it's been used in practice. So while we hope that it is used in practice, we haven't really got the means, because new projects have started, or we need to write new project applications. So we don't really have the time to go back in and check in with our teachers, which is a real shame, but that's unfortunately another reality. But we are actually still in a process to keep the momentum going a little bit. So, for example, those books, we handed them out, and we keep kind of approaching teachers with that, and we hope that sort of helps them maybe look at that, and maybe remind them, and have a look at that it's like a little booklet, and we do hope that it gives them some impulses. We don't expect that they kind of completely turn around their entire teaching practice, but hopefully, even if it's just a couple of, I don't know, they try out the domino generator or something, and that would already be a great advantage. But we have a follow-up project that is sort of not about gamified learning, but we will definitely include that. It's on developing the digital teaching skills of teachers, and we will definitely, hopefully get a chance to perhaps find out whether that was taken up, and perhaps sort of try to bring that back in everyone's ideas. And yeah.
Just one question. Do you share my experiences that a lot of money is spent in studies and not enough in the practice to transform and to watch it in practice? So what you are going to do, your next project, will it be a practical project?
Yeah, yeah. Our projects, I don't know what kind of projects you mainly work with, but the ones we work with, we are really supposed to develop practical and, as we said, tangible outputs. So we're not allowed to have just research projects, at least in the Erasmus Key A2 field. We need to really develop guidelines and handbooks and resources for, in our case, what we did, teachers, which they can use. Otherwise, we don't even get the funding. But you are right. Then actually getting teachers to use it is a whole nother thing. Because the resource might be practical, but still it's difficult to get it to be picked up and used.
You know what we did? We practiced it ourselves, and the teachers could just watch. And this was very, very slow low level of approach, and it was makeable, practicable. Otherwise they have to learn on the weekends and in the night. But learning by looking and encouraging by looking.
Yeah, we actually, for the next project, sorry, Helga, just to follow that up, we actually do like learning by doing. So we actually developing something where we try to have them actually do stuff. We show them, but they can do it straight away, and they can learn by doing, and they can prepare their own teaching materials as they go. So it's not something additional, but we show them how the tools work, and they can straight away apply them. So that's the new workshop that we're developing. So
will work.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.